Hi, folks. This is Rick Doc Walker, the DOC.
This is John Kime, and you're listening to the Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted.
Happy Victory Tuesday, Rally. How you doing, man?
Hey, man. Left, right, left. Your left, your left, your left, right, left. Although we didn't have a lot of B&G at Lincoln Financial Field, we had enough to witness the beatdown live in Lincoln Financial Field. Tailgate Ted, let's get it, brother.
Man, I am so jealous of what you experienced last night. And I texted you because I got a little bit concerned. Mrs. Tailgate and I were having a watch party at a bar. We ended up raising a couple $100 for heroes.
Nice.
And by the time it's all said and done, I think we're going to get them a couple grand from what we're collecting at the tailgate. And they showed you on TV at the beginning of the game. It's because I know I texted you where were you finally sitting. You said end zone. They showed you. You had your flag, everything else. They showed a lot of burgundy and gold, man. They had a couple guys that I've seen in some of your trips in the past. They had a guy that I've seen at FedEx Field with a chain, like a Commander's NFL, like WWE chain. Then you got like a belt and a couple other people. And then I didn't see you the rest of the game. So Mrs. T is asking me, text Rally, is he okay? Is he okay? He's like, he's fine. He's been to Philly multiple times. It's not that bad there. He's in the good seats. I told him to use the family bathroom and lock the door behind him. He'll be okay. And part of me wanted to text you about the game, but I know we don't really do that. And I also don't like jinxing it at that point. And then I didn't see you until the post-game show when I got back to my house. I was like, see, he's okay. He's good. He made it back alive. So, but man, what was the scene like out there? Because I've been to a game there. I've never tailgated for a game in Philly because whenever I used to go, I would park in the baseball stadium that they have there, the Philly Stadium, because it's a non-tailgating lot. And you don't have to worry about your car getting jacked up or anything else happening over there. And I would just kind of walk in and wander around wearing my jersey, no problem. But I would just walk in and just get inside the confines where there's more security and less drunk people, and then just kind of have a day of it. What was it like when you got there for that night game?
Well, so I first get there, Rodney Johnson and myself, we drove up, and it was people, you know, Rodney has the Commanders, Redskins / Washington football team truck all decked out. And I say all three because he literally he commemorates all three on his truck, all three names on his truck. So we're driving up, and once we cross over into Pennsylvania, that's when you see everybody start just giving us the nasty faces and shaking their head no. And so we all laughed at that driving up on 95. We get into the parking lot, and we parked in the exact same location across from the baseball stadium. And nobody was really saying anything. And because we got there, I'm not going to say early, but we got there early enough. And then the people started coming in. And believe it or not, a lot of people were like, I can't believe you drove this truck up here. You've got a lot of balls to drive this truck up here.
I agree, man. I would not bring Rodney's truck up there.
But the one thing that they said was, that's a nice looking truck.
Yeah.
So, you know, they didn't bother us or anything like that. So as the evening progressed, and it starts to get dark, I started hearing all of the, you know what that W stands for? That W stands for wishing. And I said, hey,
that's a new one.
Wishing, I never heard that before. Wishing you're gonna win. You're gonna win. And so after that, the guy who did the NFL Fox commercial or breakdown with me, he parked behind me, and I said, man, that looks like the guy from the commercial that we did on Fox together. And I said, hey, man, aren't you that guy from? He goes, no, that's not me. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, you got a twin brother. Then all of a sudden he goes, yeah, that was me. He goes, and as soon as I pulled up, I knew it was you. And so we talked, and I made a short video clip with the prediction. I'm not sure if you saw it or not, but
no, I missed that one.
Oh yeah. So if you go to my page on Instagram or even Twitter, I made a video with a guy, and I told him that the Eagles will be getting their first defeat tonight, and no one believed it. No one believed it. And if my memory serves me correctly, my co-host didn't believe that we were going to get a victory.
I didn't, man. I really didn't. And when the Eagles got the ball back and they had a chance, I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. Here we go. What's going on? Because you're waiting and waiting and waiting for the shoe to drop. But man, they did what we needed to win. They kept Jalen off the field. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you haven't seen all the stats and the numbers yet, and we'll break that down as we go through this, but they had to play a perfect game. And first thing, AG catches that kickoff and gets us to what, the 40? Mm-hmm. And the next thing you know, you got a penalty. So, okay, we're starting inside. I think it was maybe inside the 10 or right around there. It could be off on the yardage, but it was inside our 20. Mm-hmm. And then Leno gets beat like a drum, and it's a strip sack on Taylor. And at that point, I'm thinking, good thing I'm having a watch party at a brewery, because it's going to be a long night and I'm going to need a lot to drink to take away this pain, because they went up 7-0 just in the blink of an eye, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And at that moment, I told the fans, calm down. And of course, sit down, Rally Captain, sit down. And I said, this game is going to be like Smokey and the Bandit. We're going to do what they say can't be done. I said, you guys just hold tight. Just hold tight. It's not how you start the game. It's how you finish the game. Now, naturally, once you start saying stuff like that in Philadelphia, you create a couple of enemies. All right.
Oh, yeah. You put a target on your back.
But I will say this. It always starts off that way until I turn around and I show them the flag. And once they see the flag and the stadium's embroidered on the flag, they say, you know what? You're a true fan, respect. And they calm down, except a couple of drunk guys who said, yeah, you walked in here with this chain. You ain't walking out here with this chain. I'm getting that W. And I said, hey, all right. Right. You know, I was, hey, Ted, I got to tell you, for the first time in a long time, I took off my gentleman's cap and I put my thug cap on because I was ready, bro. I was ready, but nothing materialized. And so, as you can see, I'm at home talking to you, alive and well.
I mean, you made it out of there. And my always worry was, I'd go up there for Sunday night games, Monday night games, whatever it may be. It was always the long walk back to the car. Yeah. That's when I was most concerned. If we got the dub or we took the L, didn't really matter, because my head's literally just on a swivel looking back and forth, because they threw Chief Z in a trash can. Yeah. Back then, you know, they broke his eye socket and threw him in there. And I mean, it's just, they take pride on that in Philly. There was a Phillies versus Astros picture, and it was a kid yelling and screaming at an Astros fan during the World Series. And they teach that to them young there. And those of you that haven't been to Philly, you know, it's a lot of talk, not a lot of action, but some people don't do well with the talk. So when we were at the bar, you know, me personally, I've said it before, I pretend I don't speak English when I'm at a game. You know, they can just hurl whatever they want to at me, and I'm just looking straight at the field until clock strikes 000, and then I'll wave goodbye, maybe a one-finger salute goodbye, who knows? But I let the players talk for me and just kind of hang out and go from there. But it's always walking back to the car. So, you know, we'll fast forward a little bit, but we got the dub. When they were doing the post-game show and everything else in the tunnel, was that your end zone, or did you have to move to the other side of the field?
Oh, no, that was my end zone. Everything happened right there, bro. So I felt just honored, man. Let me tell you, my dream came true. And shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Heineke. And I say that because previous to the Indianapolis game, we took a selfie together. And I said, if we win, we're going to have to start a tradition of taking a selfie. So that was Indianapolis. So fast forward to last night, I see them on the field again, and I'm on the field, and I say, hey, look, guys, you remember what I told you in Indianapolis? We've started something. So when I see you on the field in Houston, we've got to take another selfie to keep this tradition going. So then Mr. Heineke is like, well, we're not sure if we're coming to Houston. I said, if we win this game, I'll see you in Houston. So I got to make sure that I see them so that we can take another selfie to keep this thing rolling. And for once, Ted, I told you, instead of us getting Peter rolled, we Peter rolled them.
We definitely did, man. And just looking at some of the numbers and the stats, I mean, first half time of possession, 23.49 minutes for the Commanders, 6 minutes, 11 seconds for the Eagles. I mean, wow. That's just, it's unreal. And there was a tweet by Nikki Javala that I think the Commanders now lead the league in time of possession for the entire NFL. I think it's 32 minutes. Yeah, lead the entire league in time of possession. Yeah. The Commanders now lead the league with an average time of possession of 32 minutes and 31 seconds. So, I mean, that's some ball control offense right there. And, you know, we talked about, I gave us 5%, 10% chance to win this game. And we were at the bar. Fox 5 was out there hanging out with us at Atlas Brew Works. And we were talking about the charity. And I'm glad they didn't actually ask me who I thought was going to win or not, because it wouldn't have gone well for being on TV in DC, because I speak the truth. I speak what I believe. And I gave us 5, 10%. And the people were walking in the bar, Eagles fans, Commanders fans, of course, one Cowboy fan. I don't know what the hell he's doing there, but he contributed to the charity, so it's fine. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how are we going to pull this off? And watching the first half and seeing what we did, we ran the ball. It was just a ridiculous amount of runs, but more importantly, it kept it to third and manageable. So I'm not sure if they showed these stats because none of them were favorable for the Eagles. I mean, the fact that we had the ball for 23, almost 24 minutes, but for me, it was third downs. I mean, we were 3 for 10 on third down, I think the week prior. I mean, we've been horrible on third down. And going into halftime, we were 9 for 12 on third down. And the Eagles were 2 for 3, but the fact that the Eagles only had 3 third downs, I mean, their offense never had a chance to do anything. From a yard perspective, we had 235 yards in the first half, and they only had 101. I mean, right before half, we got the ball back, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, don't do anything stupid. Don't turn the ball over. Let's just go into halftime and relax. And I think we got the ball with how much time was left. I don't even remember how much time was left, but regardless, they're trying to set up Joey Sly's field goal. What was the vibe in the stands when Joey's lining up? I think it was, what, a 58-yarder? I mean, it was something ridiculous that he was going for.
Yeah, it was crazy. The crowd was like, there's no way he could make it. And they tried to get loud, but then all of a sudden, and once again, that was at my end zone.
Your end zone.
So I had pretty much all of the scores. So the crowd was hyped. They were hyped, and they were like, there's no way he's going to do it. They got loud. The soundboards are telling everybody to get loud, and he nails it. And I look over at Rodney, and I said, Rodney, this is the time internally, because at that moment, they turned from being great Philly fans to silent Philly fans, and you could just feel the angst inside of them. Ted, let me tell you something. It was so quiet in that stadium, you could hear a doggone rat piss on cotton. That's how quiet it was in the stands last night, man. It really was. And then they made their little comeback, and it got loud. But each and every time we knocked them down, man. We knocked them down. No matter what they did, we knocked them down. And I'm so proud of this squad, man. I really am.
I am too, man. And it was 1:06 left in the half, and we got the ball. We ended up getting the ball at, what was it here, line of scrimmage wise, at the 30. So we got 1:06 left, and we're at the 30. I don't know how many times we've seen Rivera's teams just have horrible clock management, just chalk it up and let's just go into halftime. But they were playing to win the game, not playing to lose the game, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
And they drove down that field. It was 8 plays, and they only needed 30 yards at that point to line up for that 58-yard field goal. And okay, Joey, you make it great. You don't, not a big deal because there's not any more time left on the clock. So field position doesn't matter. But to go into halftime with that lead at that point, and you're sitting here thinking to myself, can we actually do this? Can we actually pull this off? Are we going to be the team that stops the undefeated Eagles? And you started to get some hope, at least watching it on TV, because the way we were slowing them down, it was a repeatable process. It was 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 4s, just all 3rd and short. And we talked about it on our pregame show and kind of leading up to this. Like, we can't have stupid penalties. We can't have boneheaded plays that just take you out of the game. And the one play for me that changed it was the snap that went completely over Heineke's head by 15, 20 yards. I mean, it was a ridiculous snap. And he ended up fielding that ball and got outside the pocket and was able to throw it at least past the line of scrimmage. So it wasn't a grounding and it wasn't a sack. I mean, I can only imagine in the stands when that happened, because if Carson was back there, that would have been a 30-yard loss and there goes that drive. Yeah. But because Taylor never gives up, that's just the mentality of this team when he's in there. And he managed the game for us. If you look at the stats, he didn't win the game for us, but he definitely did what he needed to do to make sure you drove home all 95 with that dub. And I'm not talking about the one on your neck.
But you know what, man, this is one of the first times also that I wasn't able to get a victory steak after the game. But best believe tonight will be Victory Steak Tuesday. It
there you
will
go.
be.
I would have stopped at Gino's.
Let me tell you something, Ted. We've said this for a long time. The only thing that's going to stop this team is this team. That's the only thing that's going to stop. I'm really starting to see us gelling. Now, Philadelphia did help us, and we got some calls our way, but that's the game of football. It happens every freaking game, every week. It's the ebbs and flows of football. And I was saying to myself, whatever it is, the Washington football team, Washington Commanders, have a way of putting Pennsylvania teams in that are undefeated away. And we did it. No one in the stands, in the parking lots wanted to hear it. And I just laughed them off and I just said, okay. I said, don't be surprised, guys. No, there's no way. There's no way you guys can do it. We're the Eagles. And so you know what I say, Ted? Cry, Eagles, cry.
I hear you, man. And it's nothing makes me happier at times than seeing all those Eagles fans just so distraught. And we're recording this, for those that are wondering, it's Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning because we wanted to get our post-game pod out. Typically, I listen to the Sports Junkies first thing in the morning. I've been enjoying listening to Philly radio, just hearing all of the people call into the shows up there and yell and scream, the referee screwed us over. Yeah. There was actually a tweet that John Kine put out there saying, the referees must not like the Eagles name. So, they're betting against the Eagles. Because for years, Redskins fans said, oh, people are, calling flags on us, penalties on us because we're the Redskins and the name and this and that. And, it's just hilarious when the shoe's on the other foot and stuff that you used to complain about, because we got lucky on the one Ridgeway fumble where their tight end dropped the ball and we ended up recovering because that was a clear face mask. But they didn't call it, which is fine. But they also got lucky on the Benjamin St. Juste pass interference. To me, that was not PI. If anything, illegal contact down the field, but not a PI. And to get them the ball right down there within striking distance, So I think the refs called a fair game. It kind of could have gone one way or the other. I don't say that they favored us over them. I mean, that strip fumble after that long bomb, that's just hustle. That's just not giving up. That's just heart. And 4 turnovers, and let's just say 3. I don't really count that last turnover on a lateral play going back and forth, even though we did get to see Ridgeway do the gritty in the end zone, which was slightly embarrassing. I think the one white boy on defense doing the gritty was, maybe not called for at the time. But to me, the play that sealed it was this one. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Let me know what you think.
They did their part doing that tonight. Another run. A first down would be basically the end of the game. To be able to come in on the road and have a game like this tonight if they're able to close it out. They're going to throw on 3rd down and 7. Instead, Heineke wisely, and now a flag. Wow. And that's going to, in essence, end the game. A flag on that hit as Heineke had taken a knee.
So Heineke's scrambling, he's running around. It's 3rd and 7. There's a minute 40 left in the game, right? I'm thinking, you got to run this ball, but you also need to pick up the first down because you want the Eagles to waste their last time out. It's like, because if we punt the ball and everything is pointing to us not getting the first down, we're going to punt that ball, give it back to them. And the fact that we were up by 5, they had to go for a touchdown. So I felt better about the situation, knowing that they can't just line up for a field goal. So, okay, let's do this. And next thing you know, he's running around, he's scrambling, and then Heineke takes a knee right there. I mean, what was I'm assuming at this point people have beers ready to throw at you because he's taking a knee and they called a personal foul and we got a first down that just ended the game. Not listening to it on the radio, not having announcers in your ear. What were you thinking when that play happened, when they called that flag?
So as soon as it happened, I said, oh my God, he gave himself up and the guy still hit him. I said, this is our ball game. And then my humble pie came in and said, calm down. Any other stadium, Ted, I'm here to tell you, I would have been just up and cheering in the whole 9 yards. But because we were where we were, and I will give Philly respect because they do have some stupid people there. All right, some of their fans can be over the top, and everything that I had heard prior to, during the game was, hey, look, something's going to happen. And now I've never had anything happen, but I felt as though this could be the game that something happened. So they were undefeated and they just didn't expect it. So I said, no, man, he gave himself up because the guy was like, oh, that's a BS call. And then all the fans started saying, I think, ref, you suck, or screw the ref, or whatever they were chanting. I mean, the whole stadium started this chant about the refs. And finally, what made me feel very comfortable, Ted, was I had one of the security guys come over to my section and said, hey, nah, man, he gave himself up and you can't hit him when they give himself up. That calmed my whole section down. And I said, listen, if your man is telling you, who's a Philly fan, is telling you he gave himself up, you guys got nothing to talk about. They didn't like that, but guess what? They accepted it. Their own security guy said, nah, I saw it. He gave himself up. You can't hit him. And that's when I said, oh, the fat lady is warming up.
I mean, the game was over at that point. There's nothing they could do to stop us. And when I was at the bar, we were on a table towards the back, and there were, maybe 10 of us just kind of hanging out back there. And all the Eagles fans were at the actual bar itself, huddled around. There were TVs all over the place. I don't know why, but I'm standing on top of my chair at this point, and I'm yelling and screaming. And when that happened, all the Eagles fans, and there was this one kid, and I probably went on him a little too hard, but all night long, you're sitting there and you're looking at him like, how is he old enough to be in here? How is he old enough to drink a beer? And he's got a kicker jersey on that was autographed by a kicker, not even like Vanderjagt or like a famous kicker. I don't even know who the hell this kicker was. And he's sitting there, and then he's just going crazy on the penalty. What the hell are you yelling about, kid? It's a flag. He took a knee. He's like, Jalen Hurts never would have done that, this and that. It's like, it's about situational awareness. And that's why we won the game. It was Heineke's awareness on multiple plays. Yeah. The fumble that went over his head, his awareness on just keeping his composure, grabbing that thing, throwing it out of bounds. On a couple of different plays where he knew that they were playing a zone and he was waiting for Terry to get open and slip through there. And the offensive line had their best game all season.
Hands down.
By
Hands
far.
down. Yeah.
And
yeah.
We've said it in the past. It's not about who you play, it's when you play them. And the Eagles were down a defensive lineman at the beginning of the day. Their slot corner got put on IR. So this isn't the same Eagles defense that we faced in week 3 that got Carson for 9 sacks, but also this isn't our same offense. You know, Cosme came back, but he was splitting reps with Lucas. But more importantly, Taylor knows what he's doing and knows where he's going. And there were a couple of throws over the middle, and I could hear it in your head, basically like, don't throw it, don't throw it. And there was just no receiver in sight. And I don't know what he was thinking for kind of back-to-back throws there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he did what he needed to for us to win. And yeah, he did have that pick. I think he had the strip sack, and he had the 1 interception that was just a bad ball. But overall, numbers-wise, I mean, he was, let's see here, 12 for 21, and this is, I guess, is the first half. So looking at the entire game, I mean, his final stats, there wasn't anything that you'd say, oh, yeah, he's got to start next week. But seeing the locker room and seeing how he did and the way he just wills everybody to win, he's got to start next week. There's no question about it. And we typically wait for Rivera's presser at 3:30 to record. I can't wait to see what coach says, because post game, everyone's asking, and it's a question that's got, on everyone's mind in DC area. You can't bench Taylor.
No.
You can't sit him down. And when you said his parents might not go to Houston, like, are they not going to go because he might not be starting? Or are they not going to go because they got something else going on? Because
yeah, they didn't say, but they just said, we may not go to this game. And I looked at them and I was like, if we win this game, I'll see you guys in Houston. I said that to them. So I'm hoping, I wish I had their number so I could text them or call them or do whatever have you and say, look, I better see you guys on the sidelines so we can get our pre-game photo so that we can keep the tradition going, man, get this dub.
Yeah. I mean, you got to keep it going. And I was joking around the bar. It's like, all right, so we'll all be back here next Sunday for the Texans game. Granted, the Texans game, I think we're already 3-point favorites. And
no kidding. With the Commanders. The Commanders are 3-point favorites.
It is the Texans. I mean,
I understand. But at the same time, when have we been favorites, man?
I'd say Jacksonville week 1 was maybe the only time we've been a favorite this year. And that's because they got a new head coach and a second-year QB at that point. So
yeah. But my point is we're in week 10 and we're finally getting favorites. So what does that tell you?
Well,
I'm happy to be at 500 ball, bro. I really am.
I am too.
And I know that might be a low bar, but the fact of the matter is, I'm happy, and all we've ever asked as fans is go out there and compete your best. And I saw no lay down last night, and that's all I want. No lay down, no quit. You fought to the last minute. We played 4 quarters of football. At first, now I got to tell you, I said, oh man, here we are. We've played 3.5 quarters of football, and now look at this. Because it started to what play was it that Philly did? And I was like, oh man, don't do this to us. Don't start the meltdown. But it was 3.5 quarters, and I said, oh gosh, man, come on, guys. We've come too far. We've done too well to doggone go out like this. Yeah. And they redeemed themselves. I forgot what play it was, man. I really do.
I mean, they had a couple of key first downs that they were picking up towards the end of the game. I'm thinking, okay, our guys are getting tired. Granted, the defense wasn't really out on the field, so they had no reason to be tired, but they were starting to move the ball and drive down the field. And you're thinking, okay, we have to at least keep it within 2 scores. So when Sly got one of those field goals, kept us up by 9 at that point, felt a little bit better. And next thing you know, Philly's starting to move the ball. And I think that's when Heineke had the bad interception and just kind of gave them some more momentum back. But the way the defense was playing, you felt that they could keep us, I guess, on the brink of potentially closing this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got that one long bomb that they had, and we ended up punching that ball out, thinking, you've got to be kidding me. At that point, I'm thinking, this team has a lucky horseshoe up its ass right now, because Philly led the league in turnovers. And we had 3 at that point to their 1 or maybe 2. I mean, you win the turnover battle, odds are you're winning the game. And we ended up winning that. We won time of possession. 3rd down conversions is what we've been struggling with. So everything that needed to break for us broke. And Joey Sly was 4 for 4.
Yeah.
I mean, when has he not missed a kick? He always misses one. It's just like Taylor, always giving one up. And Sly was just ice in his veins, man, getting up there. And they weren't short kicks.
No.
One was a 58. Let's see, one was like a 56. I mean, they were ridiculous kicks that he ended up having, man. And it's everything worked out last night. I am shocked that it ended the way it did. A 44-yarder, a 58, a 32, and a 55. I mean, jumping ahead, but how can he not get a rally chain? You know, Joey just keeping us constantly in the lead and not losing that field position game, because those are some long-ass field goals, man. If he's missing a 44-yarder, you're giving them the ball basically on your side of the field or right close to it, you know, and Rivera for trusting in him and believing in him, because nothing this season has shown me that Joey could do that. And that was the longest kick by a Washington kicker since 2011, that 58-yarder.
No kidding.
Hasn't happened since then. And I don't even know who the kicker was, but it was just a stat that I saw that one of the Commanders' beat reporters ended up having out there. We don't get a lot of Victory Tuesdays and Victory Fridays. 2 primetime games, bro. And we won both of them.
Count them. Count them. That's right.
You know, it's unreal. And I want to ride this high as long as we can, because just like you said, man, we're back to 500. And I'm not trying to look too far in advance, but we'll preview our Texans game tomorrow. But man, that's an easy winnable game.
No,
if we can,
don't say easy winnable. Don't say easy winnable.
I'm gonna have to.
You can't. You can't do that, bro. We're on a short week. You got to let the guys get their treatment. Let's see what the injury report is like, and then we can start saying it's a formidable game. Nothing's easy, because we saw what they almost did to the Eagles. So Houston, come on, bro. Let's not do
It's different though, because what they did to the Eagles was they ran the ball against the Eagles, and our run defense is a hell of a lot better than the Eagles' run defense. The Texans have a horrible run defense. So if we can keep up what we did on the run game, and I jotted this down. I'm the guy at the bar with a notebook writing all this stuff down. But I mean, we had how many attempts on the ground? It was something unreal, but it's repeatable. I mean, from a running perspective, let's see here. We ran the ball over 40 times.
That's
over
awesome.
40 times we ran the ball. And Heineke had less than 30 attempts. At that point, it's repeatable. And Brian Robinson, I think, averaged little less than 3.5, like maybe 3.3 yards a carry. But they didn't give up the run. They knew that's what they had to do to win. And what I saw was a young dog learning some new tricks.
Mm-hmm.
We've been crushing Scott Turner, and rightfully so. But Scott changed his game plan up. Scott had 3 tight end sets out there. He had a lot of motion that was moving Curtis Samuel back and forth. He had a couple end arounds with Curtis. Curtis had 4 rushes for 12 yards. But it kept the Eagles honest. They couldn't cheat. where motion was. And man, I wanted Scott Turner's, head on a pike, but he called a heck of a game plan yesterday, and it sucked them in for the play action passes, which we've talked about. You've got to do that. You've got to open up the middle of the field and hit these play action passes. And it worked because Heineke 17-29, 211 yards. Wasn't a world beater game. His passer rating was 66.9. But when he needed it on those key third downs,
yeah,
got it, man.
Hey, it's like, just call Heineke the Millennium Falcon. It may not look much, but he's got it where it counts.
I can think he could do the Kessel run. I mean, I can see Heineke doing another 12 parsecs.
For all our Star Wars nerds out here, yeah.
But after the game, the locker room was lit. It was just a crazy atmosphere. The press conferences were all getting pushed back to later because the guys were playing Meek Mills, dancing on top of stools, just hanging out. And the media is not allowed to or supposed to take video of the locker room because you got some guys that aren't even dressed.
Right.
Well, London Fletcher works for the team, and he had a video with the guys in the background. And I'm thinking, London, man, we might have to blur this video out. Luckily, everyone had clothes on, but the atmosphere in that locker room was just crazy. But this moment is what got me. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you might want to get your tissues because this one choked me up. This is Coach Rivera at the end of the game.
That's what we can do. Yes, sir. What you coach? My mama.
My mother would have been proud.
Yes, sir.
You can see how much that means to him. But it means a lot to everybody in this locker room, bro. We set the tone. We took it to them. We don't got shit from no body, bro. We set the tone, man. We set the tone. Offense, defense, special teams. We come to practice. We practice hard. We take it to people. We be opportunistic, and we gonna win games, bro. We got a lot of things to fix. We're going to go on the road again. We're going to try to get this done.
So those that are just listening to this, I mean, it's Coach Rivera holding the game ball in his hand. And he's at a loss for words. He's choked up. And you can tell he's on the verge of tears. And Terry comes over and pats Coach on the back. And then everyone just starts hooting and hollering. Coach said, "My mom would be proud of y'all."
Yeah.
And then he just broke down and started crying. Terry took over and just gave that speech. And we've been talking about it for weeks now. This is a different Terry McLaurin that we have seen since he got that contract. I feel he feels more comfortable to speak up and to talk and to voice his opinion. And he's riding high, man. And rightfully so. Terry Tanner was the Cowboy killer. Terry's got to be the Eagle killer, man, because he had a heck of a game. He's the first receiver to have over 80 yards against the Eagles this season. He's the only receiver to compile 80-plus yards against the Eagles this season. And he now has 1,300-yard games over his career, which actually ties Gary Clark for the most through 56 games.
Wow.
I mean,
that's a hell of a stat.
It is. And at the beginning of Terry's presser, he was giving kudos to Art Monk, thinking, why is Terry talking about Art? Because I know Art had dinner with him and came back out for the, alumni weekend homecoming game. But I didn't realize at the beginning of the week 3 press conference, it was the coach for the Eagles that ended up coming out and basically talking trash about Art Monk to a degree. And Terry remembered that. And this is actually why Terry said what he said during his presser.
Always was a Quick fan. He had some great success here in Washington against what I think it was. I talked to him a little bit today. It was against Darryl Green. So you know, and then and I'm taking Mike Quick over Art Monk every day.
Is it fair to say that you would take Art Monk over Mike Quick any day?
Yeah, you got the insider. Yeah, shout out to Art Monk.
So for Terry to call back to that from week 3 and then now bring it up, you know, last night and basically just giving shout outs to Art, it's how can you not love this guy? And at the end of the game, they interviewed Terry, and he obviously always says the right things. But he mentioned how, you know, if Carson comes in, you know, we'll be hyped and all excited for Carson. And if it's Taylor, then hey, let's just go with Taylor. This was actually Taylor post-game talking about that exact scenario.
Taylor, it's obviously a decision to make too. A quarterback as Carson comes back. Do you have thoughts? Do you worry about where that may go?
Not at all. Again, you know, I said it back in OTAs. You know, we brought Carson in to be a starter, and if my number was called, I'd be ready to go in. So, you know, whatever decision they want to make, let's go. You know, if I'm backing up Carson next week, great. I'm gonna help him any way I can to get ready for that Texans game. So, you know, the biggest thing for me, let's just go win. Let's keep winning, whether me playing or not.
I don't see.
PC, great PC answer.
Oh, yeah. And I was listening to the Washington Football Talk pod guys. I mean, JP, Pete, Mitch, you know, always, if they are out, they got a new show, got to listen to it. And there was a moment that JP mentioned from Rudy, the movie, you know, Notre Dame kid, everything else, where he didn't get the start. He didn't get his jersey to play basically at that one last game. So his dad could kind of see him. And all the players came into coach's office and put their jerseys on the table saying, he can have my spot. He can have my spot. And I kind of get goosebumps thinking of that, because even though Terry in front of cameras and everything else saying that, hey, if Carson does come in, then we got his back too. Because what do you expect him to say? That's out of his control. And you got to always have the quarterback's back. But behind the scenes, I can see Terry and the other guys going to coach and saying, we got to have 4 in there. We got to have Heineke in there. And on the post game, and I think it's a thing now where if you're a quarterback, you got to wear everybody's chains on your neck. Yeah. Heineke was on the jet on the way back, and I think it's maybe a 30-minute flight. But this is actually him, and the guys are kind of dressing him up. And he's got all this bling all over him. And he's got a case of Busch Light sitting in the empty seat beside him and glasses.
Look at that.
You know, it's stuff like this, man. These guys really are a family. And I know you're a Star Wars fan. Do you watch Fast and the Furious?
Yes.
So, I mean, this you know, the whole premise of all those movies, cars flying, everything else, but it's all about family. And that's what I think about when it comes to this team. And not that they don't love Carson, but he hasn't been through this with them. He hasn't gone through this ride with them. I mean, Taylor's been here for years.
Yeah, he's just visiting, basically.
Yeah. And the fact that the team did not commit to Carson long-term, we talked about it. The players know they have a parachute to get out of that contract. So they know that the team is not committed to that guy. They wanted him to prove himself. And when he was in there, he didn't do it. And how can you not rally behind Heineke? How can you not root for this guy? I mean, he was sleeping on his sister's couch, and yeah, he's got the moxie that they need. He might not have a strong arm, but his heart is freaking massive, man. And that's what this team is going to need to win and to do something.
And not only that, Ted, I'm going to fast forward a little bit, right? And I'm going to play the hypothetical game, okay? Hypothetically, we beat the Texans. Because I got to say hypothetically, we beat the Texans. For every fan who says they want to come to a game The Atlanta game is the game for you guys to make FedEx do what it needs to do. You guys need to come out and support this team. And I understand that all the hate for DS, I got it. But your team is more important to you than any drama that you may have about DS. Come support the team because we need you. They need you.
The players. I mean, we didn't become fans of this team because of an owner. And we're not going to let all the drama with the owner take us out of it. And Alex Smith came out with some comments on an ESPN podcast saying it was frustrating because fans don't show up to FedEx Field because of their disdain for the owner. And I'm paraphrasing. It's not his exact words, but basically saying that fans support you. They love you as a player for this team, but they hate the owner so much, so they just don't show up. F all that. We got no control over that. And maybe things are changing. Maybe he's going to be here next year. Maybe he's not. But if we can rally around this team,
we got to.
We're 500 right now, man. And okay, let's just say we go 6-5. We have a chance to go potentially 7-5. And you know who is in the 7th seed in the NFC right now is the San Francisco 49ers.
Yep.
Who do we play Christmas Eve? The San Francisco 49ers.
Yep.
So you control your own destiny. And I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse, but there is a chance for us to actually do something. And once again, it's not who you play, it's when you play them. This is a different team than what we started with during the year. This defense.
There's always first half football and second half football. And what we're seeing now is the guys really figuring out what they can truly do and believing in themselves. Finally, I see a different aura. Remember, I told you, Ted, I read body language. And the body language that I'm seeing, second half football versus first half football, totally different.
Oh, yeah.
Totally different. These guys are like a teenager who's getting hair underneath their arms the first time. They're smelling themselves, bro. They really are. And it's almost like they're walking in like, who wants some? What? Oh, you want some? Okay, let's go ahead and do this. That's what I'm seeing from the second half of football. I've never seen that offensive line do what they have done. But guess what? They are seeing that they can do it too. You're going to have the occasional blow up that we saw. I mean, and Leno, he made up for it. You're going to get that. Every team has that. But guess what? It's almost like he got some smelling sauce and woke himself up and told the whole team, hey, I'm a captain. Let's do this together. And they did it, man. They did it. And we've got a two-headed monster with AG and Rob, man, that just, oh, dude, it's driving defenses crazy. Scott Turner, keep doing what we can do best. That's what's needed. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it.
Yeah. And this win means nothing if you don't build off of it.
Yep.
It's like, okay, that's great. We beat the Eagles. We end their undefeated streak. But what can you take away from this game? You have to go into that game because traditionally we have played down to the level of our opponents. And we can't afford to do that coming up against the Texans, but we'll talk about that on tomorrow's show. But who would you give your rally chain to? And I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of people. So let's just kind of go back and forth on who gets your rally chain this week.
Ted, I got to be honest with you, man. I can't just give it to one person. I've got to give the whole team. I literally have to give it to the entire team because it took an entire team effort to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. I've got to give it to the entire team. Now, I know that's not fair, but I really do because for the
leave somebody, man. I know it was the team win. I get it.
For the first time in a long time, the whole team played together, man. So I mean, if I've got to give it, I've got to give it to two people. Two, and you called out one. Actually, you called out both of them. I got to give it to Sly. I gotta give one to Sly, and I gotta give one to Heineke. If I have to, those are the two, because without that smart play, had he thrown that ball the last play, the clock would have stopped, and we would have had to punt the ball. And Philadelphia, who knows what they could have done?
Well, they still would have had a timeout too. On top of that, yeah.
Yeah. So without that, who knows what would have happened. So I'll give it to 2. But in my heart, I've got to give it to the entire team because they deserve it, man.
I hear you. And it was an all-around win. I mean, Montez had a lot of good pressures on there. We didn't have a ton of sacks that game, but they played and they rushed 4-1. But for me, it's got to be Terry. Some of the toughest catches I have seen him just make. He was 8 catches for 128 yards. I mean, Terry, the way he's playing right now is why you pay that man that money. It's why you make him your franchise player. And yes, when Chase comes back, he's going to also be a face of this team, but it's John Allen on defense and it's Terry on offense. And Terry took over that game. He got us some crucial 3rd down conversions. And from a receiving perspective, Terry had 11 targets. The next person that was targeted the most was Curtis Samuel with 4. Logan Thomas had 4. From a receptions, Terry had 8 catches. The next closest receiver was Antonio Gibson with 3. And it wasn't the catches, it was the situation. It was when we needed that first down, he went to him. He went to Terry, and you knew that he was going to step up. And Justin Jefferson, I'm assuming you saw that game against the Bills with the Vikings. I mean, he had that one catch that Cousins threw to him that was just completely contested, and there's no way you think it's going to happen. But that's what you do. You trust your number 1 receiver. And Terry and Taylor, man, they're brothers from another mother. Those two are like this.
They're vibing. Yeah, they're
we
vibing.
don't convert those 3rd downs without him. We don't get into field goal range without him. Sly doesn't go 4 for 4 without him. And the other person for me has to be Defoe. Derek Forrest, man. On defense, I mean, that interception that he had where, and I'm sure you haven't seen the replay yet, but the ball was in the Eagles receiver's hands. And it went through Defoe's hands. And it landed in the basket of the Eagles receiver. And Defoe pulled it out.
Yeah, I didn't see that. You obviously you missed things live at the game.
Yeah. I mean, I know you haven't had a chance to rewatch the game, but we don't go up by what we go up if Defoe doesn't stop that. And then to be able to punch that ball out after the fact, I mean, he's a 2nd-year player, but he was hurt for a majority of the last season, and he is making a big step up, man. And if you ask me what's the difference between the first half teams that we played and the second half, like what's the difference in this team? It's no William Jackson III. The defensive secondary is playing and they're communicating and they're having fun.
Yeah.
Cam Curl is back. Jamin Davis is playing like a 1st-round linebacker that should have been drafted 19th overall.
Yeah.
And we've got a quarterback that never gives up. In that first Eagles game when Carson got sacked 9 times, you love talking about body language. His body language was like, let's get this game over with. Can we just run the clock out and be done?
Mm-hmm.
But Rivera's teams play better in the end of November and December. And we're in for a wild ride, man. We really are, because these guys are playing like a family. They're not playing like a team. And that's what gives me hope that maybe, just maybe, postseason could be a chance. But you got to build on this.
Yep.
And that's all that matters.
Definitely got to build on it, man. One step at a time, 1 inch at a time, 1 foot at a time. Let's make it happen. And for the first time in a long time, I feel something that's truly brewing within the organization. Forget all that other nonsense. Let's keep it where it needs to be with the players, and something is brewing inside of that locker room. Once again, on behalf of Tailgate Ted, the rally captain, DMV Mess Hall, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. I always tell you, you could be any place, but you decided to listen to the DMV Mess Hall. Remember, guys, rep it hard, but don't rep it at all. Rally captain, Tailgate Ted, taking you out on a victory Tuesday.